Welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. This is Jamie Gray. This pod, Canadian Ruck, welcomes Mike Whitehead. This is the second of a three-part series featuring some of our national wheelchair ruggers, and it was an awesome conversation. You're going to be excited. Mike, great guy, gold medalist at the 2015 Parapan Am Games. He was inducted in the Canadian Wheelchair Rugby Hall of Fame in 2017, but he's still playing. Silver medalist at the 2019 Lima Parapan Am Games. Competed in 4 Summer Paralympic Games, 2 silvers and a bronze. He's also competed in 4 Wheelchair Rugby World Championships, a gold, a silver, and 2 bronze. Well decorated. He also coached Canada's wheelchair rugby team at the Toronto Invictus Games, and he speaks fondly of that. If you have a chance to watch any Invictus Games when they happen, you should make sure you do that. He's a guest speaker at a TEDx Beacon Street event in Boston. He wears number 7, plays offense, and his club team is the Ontario Thunder. Stay tuned. Mike's a great conversation. Just a little plug. Follow us anywhere on social media. Twitter at Canadian Ruck, Instagram, _Canadian_Ruck, Facebook at the Canadian Ruck. And if you want to contact me, the email is thecanadianruck@gmail.com. You can watch and listen. Make sure you follow, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and CastBox. And we're also on thecanadianruck.weebly.com. Make sure when you're doing that, you're spreading it out. Share it. Send it to a buddy. It's winter here in Canada. We're snow blowing our driveways. It's great information to listen to while you're snow blowing your driveway. Throw it on in the car. Throw it on while you're on the forklift. Make sure that you're sending these messages out because it's great to give recognition to some of these great Canadian athletes. Let's take a quick look at some rugby news, what's happening on the world of rugby, and a couple little things I want to touch on. One, the 2023 Rugby World Cup draw has happened. You probably know that already. Seems kind of early. It's still 2020 and the draw's already happened. But if you haven't, Pool A, New Zealand, France, and Italy, along with America's one and Africa one. So Canada could be drawn into that. Pool B is South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland, along with Asia Pacific one and Europe one. That's going to be a tough division. Pool C is going to be tough as well. Wales, Australia, Fiji, along with Europe one and the finals qualifier winner. In Pool D, this could be a Canadian pool as well. England, Japan, Argentina, along with Oceania one and America's 2. So we could definitely be in. It will either be in Pool A or Pool D. Take your pick. I'm looking at that. I think I'd rather go Pool D with England, Japan, and Argentina. Stay away from New Zealand and France. Italy, we could give a crack for sure, but Pool A or D, that's our options for Canada. Also, we spoke about this last pod. More players now have joined that lawsuit over head injuries in the sport. CNN has actually picked up the story. They're running with it as well. A lot of talk around now, not just the lawsuit, but also talking about changing the amount of contact and training and raising awareness. Absolutely, I think that is awesome. I think anytime you can raise awareness for head injuries, whether it's concussion or CTE or constant contact, those things need to be talked about and discussed and ways to make it better. Whether it is less contact in professional settings or international settings in training, that's great. Maybe take the high school approach where there's a few days in between. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of ways you can look at it. But I still stand by what I said last pod about not a lot of scientific evidence potentially to impact a lawsuit. This is not a Jamie Cumbore type of an incident where the teams knew what was going on. I hope they didn't know. If the league did know, if the teams did know, then that's not cool. Then yeah, definitely something needs to be done. As of now, I don't think that is the case. That hasn't actually been brought out in the news, in the media. So that's my concern with the lawsuit. Was there scientific evidence of these issues? I'm not certain there was. Maybe, but that hasn't been brought to the forefront yet. Soon here, I'm not sure when, but I'm going to be having a little nice conversation with Kelly Van Buskirk. Kelly's an old friend of mine. He played senior rugby in New Brunswick. He's a top lawyer here in New Brunswick as well. We're going to talk about legal and ethical issues surrounding this issue, and I guess what the leagues need to worry about, what World Rugby needs to worry about on the legal side, also on ethical side, and hopefully just by this lawsuit happening, maybe it does bring awareness to change tackle laws. I've always been, I think it was last year, there was a law change where I think it was under 20s, they dropped the tackle height requirement, and I think that's a great start. I think anything above the chest is high myself. and there's no need for it. Yeah, wrap the legs, bring them down that way. You need to stay away from the chest, stay away from the shoulders, definitely stay away from the head and neck. It's still a contact sport. Let's make it a safer contact sport. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Gray area this week. This is a bit of a rant for me. This is in particular to focus on, I guess, New Brunswick Rugby Union, maybe rugby in the Maritimes or Atlantic Canada. Personally, I think it's time for the senior season to make a change. As I said, this may only pertain to New Brunswick and PEI, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland, but I've got some reasoning for this. I'd love to see senior rugby, club rugby, move to the spring. Big thing is high school rugby will be able to operate at the same time as seniors. Imagine having a high school game in New Brunswick on a Saturday at 11 a.m. and then a senior kickoff at 1 p.m. right after. You'd have some of those senior guys warming up watching. The high school players could stay and watch, experience that club atmosphere, get to see what it's like to have that investment moving forward. High school chance, get those chances to see the senior players, see what's available after high school. Seniors get a chance to offer tutelage and offer a lot of guidance to the high school players. This could also potentially mean that senior teams could have practices and training sessions with high school players there as well. Maybe it's a split field, what have you, but that would be pretty cool having both of those programs running at the same time. In New Brunswick, we know the NBIA won't change when the rugby season happens, and I think that's probably okay. I often pushed for it to be put into the fall, but the more I think about it, I think having senior rugby move to the spring with high school rugby was going to be better for the game. It's going to definitely help the game grow. Think about it. More players are constantly invested. And let's face it, the fall, as it is, has too many sporting options. You've got hockey starting up, you've got basketball, you've got football, you've got baseball, you've got soccer, right? Some of those are staples of Atlantic Canada for sure and throughout all the provinces. Why not keep rugby in the spring in the high school, but bring senior rugby? That way the seasons are overlapping. Right, there'll be less distractions for the high school players. There's going to be more opportunities for rugby to grow, right? Plus, when the fall rolls around, those kids that just graduated, they're off to university. So when September rolls around and, the senior season's, a few weeks in, a lot of clubs lose players, right? Blythe, Moncton, they're losing a ton. St. John, they lose a bunch as well. But if the senior season begins in the spring and ends in early summer, then all those players are still going to be there, right? Think about it. Those kids, instead of leaving for university, they're coming back from university looking for something to do. They're going to get invested in that rugby. And then when they go off to university, they're not going to be distracted with trying to play senior rugby and university rugby. They can focus on their university rugby. Imagine if you're a St. John Trojan and you can have St. John High Greyhounds or St. Max coming out to your practices and to your games. Same with Belial with the Rovers and the Bears, or Moncton with the Black Tie focusing with the Harrison Trimble or Cole Odyssey, or Loyalists with FHS and Leo Hayes talk about becoming an ancestor for the game. How impressive would that be with all of that streamlined working together? And yeah, I get it. I know. Maritime championships happen in the fall, sometime in November. How could a New Brunswick team be prepped and ready if their season happens in the spring? Well, yeah, it's a good question. It's a fair point. I got a few ideas. One, provincial winner has a few friendlies with the other clubs. I'm sure, Blythe or St. John or Fredericton, whoever, Moncton could round up some players and make sure there's some games. Provincial winner could play some friendlies with the universities in the fall. Yeah, why not? Why not having some home and homes with some university teams? I like this, an exhibition schedule for senior clubs, but with a lot of clubs operating with fewer players in the fall, maybe it's some all-star teams to play the provincial winner. That'd be pretty neat. You maybe can't field a full team because it's the fall and players are gone. And we've noticed over the last few years in New Brunswick, a lot of games get rescheduled because of work commitments, and sometimes they don't happen. But that would be pretty cool. You could have, 7 guys from each of the other clubs rounding out a team of 21 or 22, playing a 2 or 3 game series against the provincial winners, prepping them for that Maritime Championship. Any way you slice it, though, there's many options for the provincial winner to be ready for the Maritime Championship, probably better rested and ready to go. And if this worked in NB, I imagine Nova Scotia PEI would probably follow suit and try something similar. I just see way too many positives in this. And what's the worst that can happen? Try for a couple seasons. If it's not viable, if it's not working, then you switch back to the fall. But something needs to be done for the NBRU and rugby in New Brunswick to survive. I don't know. Is that too drastic of a change? I think not. I think it's something that maybe the time is now for that to happen. Become ancestors of the game instead of just scrapping and clawing for leftovers. Why not take a stance and try and put rugby back in the forefront? Anyway, that's it for the gray area. Coming up now, stay tuned. We've got Mike Whitehead. All right, so Canadian Ruck today welcomes wheelchair rugby legend Mike Whitehead. Mike, it's an absolute pleasure to get a chat with you. I'm really excited for this pod, so welcome to the Canadian Ruck.
Thank you so much for having me. Anytime I get a chance to chat about myself, I get all fired up.
I've heard that about you.
Jesus, it's so bad. But yeah, supporting wheelchair rugby, our community is always a big deal. So appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, so let's get right into it here. You're born and raised in Ontario, which typically it's a pretty strong rugby province. Can you talk to us about how you became involved in wheelchair rugby through your accident, your journey to kind of get into the level of playing wheelchair rugby that you do?
Sure. Yeah, I was in a car crash in '99 in Harrow, Ontario. Thankfully, I just hurt myself. I didn't hurt anyone else, which was good. And then I got some great, medical coverage in Windsor, Ontario. And then January 1st, 2000, got carted up. Welcome to the year 2000. Got carted up to London, Ontario, to start my spinal cord rehab. You learn to live in a wheelchair, how to sit up. My lungs. I was still having a lot of lung issues, and just adjusting to the new life and learning about myself and the spinal cord injury. And then some of the local wheelchair rugby guys were started to come up to the hospital and said. One of the guys come up and he says, "You like to drink beer?" I said, yeah, I enjoy a few beers. It's kind of what got me in trouble here. And he's like, "You like sports?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love sports. I grew up playing everything I get my hands on." And he's like, "Well, Tuesday I'll pick you up at 6. We're going to go to a wheelchair rugby practice in Chatham," which was an hour drive from London. And I was like, heck yeah.
Is this even like a year after your injury? Like how? It seems
no,
like
it was
pretty soon.
November 25th was my injury, and I think it was first week of February, so it was fast.
Like 3 months later.
Yep.
Had you played rugby before?
No, but I played basketball for many, many years, for thousands of hours. I was an avid baller. Our community had a strong basketball system in place. So once I got back on the basketball court, all those instincts and vision and anticipation and ball skills were already implemented at a young age. So didn't play rugby. And then hockey, I shuffled around the ice and scored a few rebound goals. That was about it. My hockey career was pretty pathetic.
I mean, we're Canadian, right? Like we've all had a touch of the ice at some point. So yeah. We're jumping ahead, but I like that. So you're an avid athlete in your younger days. You played a lot of sports. How important was that for you growing up, and how important is that for any athlete, even if they're trying to centralize in one sport, but the ability to play more than one sport? How important is that for their development? What do you think?
So exactly. Not only socially and emotionally, it was good for me, especially at a young age. Going through different things in adolescence. I was able to get, some frustrations out on the court, on the ice. That was back when we could fight. And then also all the multiple sports, the way it worked for me is, it was just seasonal stuff. We had, volleyball season started beginning of school year, then boom, right in the basketball season. And then our school, our community had a strong badminton season, and then badminton was / soccer. And so all those motor skills and all those strengthening exercises, different parts of the body, were all in place. And then after my accident, not only was I motivated, it was just the normal way of life. Like, I spent winters in a gymnasium and also on the rink, and the rink was over, and I enjoyed basketball a lot. So it was just normal for me in February after my accident to be in a gymnasium. It was, the smell, the gym doors, the wooden benches, stuff like that. So it was just continuing the same lifestyle and habits that I had already had in place by my coaches.
That's great. Yeah, I think you're right. Like all those fine motor skills and just even the awareness of being on a court or on a field or on the ice. There's so much overlay between different sports. Yeah, I agree 100%. Let's get back to the wheelchair rugby. You played world championships, summer Paralympic games, things like that. Talk to us about the pride in wearing the jersey and representing Canada on such a massive stage. Like, what was the culture like at those events? Can you sum it up? Can you talk about that?
Oh, man. It's just so amazing to be in our group of our family, our wheelchair rugby family, and you can just feel the energy building as we, hit the airport and we get on the plane and, we're goofing around and having fun, and everybody's energy and attitude is just heightened. It's really exciting, and all the other teams and all the other athletes, had that same feeling. So then you get into an environment where we're all in the same place, and the energy's high, the emotion's high. Everybody put the work in. And having that experience early on in our career, in 2002, we won world championships. It was just pivotal. I was like, oh man, like this is where it's at. This is what I want to do the rest of my life. It's 18 years ago now. And for me, it was just a feeling in my gut, in my heart, that I was in the right spot. I loved what I was doing, and I really enjoy, hanging out with the team and working towards a goal together.
Yeah. So national thing's one thing, which is obviously amazing, but you also play for the Ontario Thunder.
Yeah.
I've heard a few stories about your league. You've got some real gritty guys. You got some guys that just want to show up and throw the ball around, have a beer. But what's that competition like? I mean, obviously it's not international caliber, but how's it like to play against your international teammates? And how does that league keep you motivated to continue to go?
Oh, it's amazing. For, like you said, the recreation part of it. In the beginning, I used to get really frustrated when I was competing with somebody on the team that played for recreation, because I didn't realize they're getting the same amount of benefits socially, physically than I am. I'm just young, naive, and hyper competitive. So now I start to see the big picture where it's just a lifestyle, and sports skills are life skills, and our national when I get to compete against Brandon in Alberta in nationals, a young up and coming stud, and I spin him first play and he falls on his butt and he looks up at me from the ground, and I'm just like smiling. That's a lot of fun, because you get to compete against your teammates for something that matters. I take a lot of pride playing for Ontario, and I know we all do. And so at nationals, just last year, or 2 years ago, the nationals, there was a last-second goal with the crazy flip pass over your head, over Jarrett's head, and Zach took it and scored last second. And we care. It's important. There's a lot on the line, and it's just amazing. Canadian nationals is just a really cool experience. All aspects of it. If it's the banquet, if it's making new friends, if it's showing new people in a chair how this thing works, it's Canadian nationals is a big deal.
So I like that. Like everybody loves club rugby because, you could be the best player and you could be representing your province or your country, but you could still play with people you grew up with that maybe don't have that skill set. So I love that about club rugby in all aspects. What's it like though when you're squaring off against, Patrice or Eric or somebody else that's on the national team? That, like, are you going a little harder at those guys, or is it, it's like, oh, lighten up because we got practice next week together or something like that? He's thinking.
No, it's on. It's just on. I don't care who I'm playing against. I want to dominate. I want our team to dominate. And actually playing against those guys, and even at training camps when we're competing against each other, we're spinning each other, we're elbowing, we're nasty with each other. And I've heard Trevor say it several times, Hirschfield, like, if we were as mean as we are to other teams that we are each other, we'd be way better off, because man, we are brutal with each other. And not only like verbally too, just slashing, just chewing each other up. So
but it's all for good. Like you're just pushing each other to be better, right?
Yeah. After the game, we're laughing about me or somebody saying some really terrible things about my person.
That
like
might be too far.
Exactly. But we laugh after, because we're all in it for the same thing. We have some good laughs, but on the court, there to win. That's why we're on the national team, because we're that competitive, and we're Canadian nationals. It gets on. It's a good show.
So let me ask you this: you're talking about your competitive side, which everybody has that competitive side, but it sounds like you've got it at the next level. You've got it at the Michael Jordan level, I think. So if COVID's over, I fly out to Ontario, I show up at the Ontario Thunder practice, somebody straps me in a chair. Are you helping me, or are you just running me over?
It depends how good you are, how quick you are. Because if you're out there and you get the hang of it quick, then we might have to level you off, make sure you're in the right place as far as that goes. So you're going to remain safe, but hitting the funnest part is smashing chairs. So we're going to, we'll give you a good crack in the chair to see where you're at, and then teach you a few tricks.
All right, sounds good. All right, so I want to run this by you a little bit. So I teach Canadian history to grade 10s. And a couple of years ago, I had a pop up on my phone about the Invictus Games. So we turned it on, and there's wheelchair rugby. Was that you coaching?
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that?
Changed my outlook a lot. One was recovery through sport. The soldiers are coming from a background where they were injured in Afghanistan, injured Canadian soldiers, and soldier on program through Invictus takes like close to 600 applicants for 30 spots at those games. There was 90 spots at those games. And, going through some tough things in life. And then I get the opportunity to introduce wheelchair rugby to this group of people. They fall in love with it. And now a lot of them are still playing. And to see people's lives improve, just like my life improved right in front of my eyes, it was a real gift. It was a real gift, because it really hit home for the recreation and the fun of wheelchair rugby is very, very beneficial. So it helped me with some perspective as far as my competitiveness. And then secondly, I'd never spent a lot of time with a group of soldiers on the bus, having meals, and it just made me a very, very proud Canadian. It's such an honor to be part of that group. We found ourselves coaching staff at Rideau Hall in Ottawa, and I met General Natinchuk, and just to brush elbows with a lot of spectacular people that defend our country and also defend the Canadian way. It was a big deal. So being part of Invictus is such an honorable thing.
So how did that happen? You didn't have a military upbringing. Like, how did you get tapped, I guess, to be the coach?
Yeah, I was sitting having lunch.
Because you're still playing, right?
Yep, still playing. So I was sitting having lunch at a training camp in Victoria, BC, and I just had gone through a rough patch and some personal things in my life. I was just grinding away, and our high performance director, Andy Van Nuytingen, and Kathy Cadu, our CEO, came up and were like, "Hey, Mike, the Canadian Armed Forces Soldiers On program contacted us and looking for a coach for the Invictus Games of 2017. And we'd like to nominate you." And I was like, "You sure? Me?" And they're like, "Yeah." And changed my life. And I'll always be very, very grateful for that.
Beautiful. That's great that you can give back in a different way that you probably never expected to, right?
Didn't expect it, and that feeling of giving back and being of service and being a part of something bigger than myself, it changed me, man.
Awesome.
It's a really, really nice gift.
Listening to you, though, I mean, you definitely have a pure passion for the game. You've got a lot of experience. All of that, I think, led to that 2017 induction into the Canadian Wheelchair Rugby Hall of Fame. That must have been an emotional time.
Very, very. To be a part of something with others, that class of inductees, people that I spent hundreds and thousands of hours with over the years, and then to kind of go back on the memories, way, way back. And then having the piece of hardware sit on my dresser is it's spectacular. It's just really, really cool to see, to be, I guess, honored in a way with a group of people from an organization this elite in the world. So it's humbling.
So, yeah, the last two questions are I can tell that they strike a chord and they resonate with you. I think that's important in any line of work and any line of profession, and the fact that you have that passion still after 20 years, that's amazing to see. It's great for the sport.
Thank you.
So let's switch gears now. We're going to jump to our quick fire section. We've got about 20 questions here, kind of aimed at a different side of your personality. First half are rugby based, second half are a little bit more based on you.
Oh gosh.
Want to give it a go?
Yeah.
Question 1. Playing or coaching?
Coaching.
Wow. Are you joking?
No, man.
Wow.
But that's a tough question. I love playing. I'll change it, playing.
Best team you've ever faced?
Early 2000s USA.
USA, okay. Best player you ever faced?
Oh, man. Zach Medell.
I think that's what Eric said too.
Smart.
Toughest player ever faced, and this to me is a person that you look up. It's a 1v1, and you're just praying that his wheelchair collapses underneath of him, so you don't have to run him.
Yeah, there's an Aussie player that's pretty strong, pretty fast. Rally bat.
I'm pretty sure that's who Eric said too.
Yeah, he's a competitor. Great wheelchair rugby player.
Best match you were ever part of?
Ooh. There's some classics. Let's go with USA 2012 semifinals. You win, you go on to play for gold or silver. That one was big game. Great finish.
2012, all right. Is it best team you ever played with? Was it that team 2012?
Oh man. I've been around for almost 20 years, like best team. Wow.
You got lots of options.
Yeah. I like it. Let's hit that 2012 team.
2012, all right. What's your favorite rugby tradition?
It would be, I just think of the locker room and the shenanigans and the baloney and the harassment, having fun with each other. So that tradition, we'll chew the fat for 90 minutes before we actually are on the court, and then after just torching each other about what just happened on the court. That tradition keeps me coming back.
Nice. What's your rugby nickname?
I guess, I think a lot of the guys call me Whitey. I guess that would be a nickname. The new one, Skinny Mike.
Skinny Mike?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny one.
Is there a story behind that, or is it just?
Yeah, it used to be Chubby Mike. That's it. I've made a few changes in nutrition and training, and
Good for you.
dropped a few lbs, and now they laugh.
Sounds good. All right. Who's the player that you love to smash?
It would be Brandon Trogan.
Okay. Any rugby superstitions?
Always avoided those. Maybe I think I have a lot of habits in place, but we've had some great sports like that. For me, if a habit's changed in the day of during a Paralympic game, then oh well, is that going to affect my game? I'm not going to let it. So, I have some habits and some traditions, but I don't think I have many superstitions, to be honest.
Good. All right. Did you watch the Last Dance documentary with Jordan?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me, of the players you've played with, who's the Jordan, who's the Pippen, who's the Rodman?
All right. I would say, playing with Garrett Hickling, he won multiple World's MVPs. He was a big mentor of mine. He had a lot of Jordan qualities, bigger the game. Being on the court with him, you knew you were going to win. You just knew. The belief factor that Garrett Hickling has is very, very high. And it wasn't transmitted through his voice. It was his body. And then our Pippen, G's right-hand man, he had let's go with, I would say Pippen is kind of like Patrice Samard.
Okay.
Because Patrice Samard is a lot like Pippen. Now that I think about it, as far as he will be your right-hand man. He is there. He's not going to say a whole lot, but when he's at home, he put all the work in. You could always count on him. And yeah, what an amazing, amazing wheelchair rugby player. And then Rodman is going to be Jared Funk for sure.
That was quick.
Jared Funk from Manitoba. He's like Manitoba's version of Dennis Rodman. So just in peculiar ways. I wouldn't say Rodman, Jared's not a huge party or anything, but Jared, he has funkisms. Like Jared's Jared, and he's got the Toba in him, he's got the funk in him, and 100%. And a heck of a defender. In that 2012 game, made a huge defensive play, like defensive beasts.
Bit of a beast. I like that.
Yeah, great question.
All right. Who was your childhood hero?
Oh, my dad, Mike Whitehead, was somebody who, just a tough blue collar, great father. And then a gentleman, one of my early coaches was a hero of mine, but one of my teammates continues to be a hero of mine. And he was just a year older than me, but I just always looked up to him, and he's still doing amazing things. His name's Manawatsa from Harrow, Ontario. And, every year that goes by, I just find myself admiring what he's up to, what he does, and the work that he puts in. So, yeah, good question.
Two good shout-outs there. All right. What's the most used app on your phone?
Oh man, Reddit. Wait.
Reddit?
I'm on Reddit. Yeah, and that's Byron's fault. Byron Green. Right? I was not a Reddit guy until Byron and I roomed together. He's like, check this out. It's the news before the news.
You got some conspiracy theories there.
Yeah. That's Funk. Funk's a conspiracy theory guy. That's not me. I'm always on Reddit checking stuff out.
What's your go-to food?
Go-to food lately? Cheese. I just spent a bunch of time with a friend of mine from Vermont. And he just changed my cheese game. So now, man, I'm enjoying some sharp cheddar, some goats, I'm all over the place. So right now, we're on a Triscuit, man, good stuff.
Nice stuff. All right, chips or cookies? Or are they gone now because of the new?
So it was cookies for years, and then lately it's like chips.
All right, what kind?
Chips. Those like the kettle, the kettle cooked chips.
Get you every time. French fries or onion rings?
Onion rings lately.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. I go to a bud's house and we get pizza and onion rings.
It's a good mix. Do you put the onion rings on the pizza or eat them separate?
No, but I saw some crazy stuff at a Paralympics one time. I saw a person put a piece of pizza inside a Big Mac.
Oh, wow. That's
That blew my
talent.
mind.
That's
Yeah,
talent.
it blew my mind. He sat beside me and he was smiling. He
Of
had a
course you'd be
plan.
smiling. Until about half an hour later. Might not feel so
Oh man, yeah, he was, Paralympics performance or experience, and some folks, yeah, he was there maybe for the experience.
What's your favorite beer?
Oh man, I'm a seltzer water guy. Seltzer water guy, yeah.
Okay.
But back in the day, Newcastle was my go-to. That was a treat. Back in
Newcastle.
the day, Newcastle was tasty.
What is a guilty pleasure?
Ooh. Oh man, chips.
All right.
Yeah, chips. I'll go back for a third bowl. It's bad.
What series are you binge watching right now?
Ooh, what am I? Man, I've been on uh, public TV, and I've been watching a lot on Native American history. So I wouldn't say it's binge. But I just find myself watching a lot on that in the Native in Canada and the U.S. It's pretty interesting. I just kind of caught my attention lately.
Nice.
But before that, probably the last series that I really enjoyed and binged was The Last Dance, and I got that lion or tiger show, whatever that was.
Oh yeah, I avoided that one.
Yeah, good for you, man. I had to explain to my Like,
What's your favorite movie?
we were talking about today. We were talking about Shawshank Redemption today.
That is the most common answer.
It's
great.
It was brought up today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Who would play you in the Netflix movie of your life?
Oh. Robert Downey Jr.
Nice. All right. Little Iron Man. Who would play the leading lady?
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm kind of a Charlize Theron guy.
Okay. Last one. What would the movie be called?
Ooh. It would be called Working on Something Bigger.
Okay, that's not bad. Working on something bigger. I like that. All right, so that's it. That's it for the quick fire. Just got a few questions left here, Mike. That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. I think you might have answered this, but we're going to try it again. Who had the biggest impact on you as a player?
So as a player, as a wheelchair rugby player, a large impact. I'm going to go back to Garrett Hickling, just the way he operated, and just to see, the bigger the game, the more focused on detail and a real strong belief. Being on the court with Garrett, everyone knew you were on or against him. So early on in my career, those early years, it took me under his wing.
Awesome. You love having those mentor guys, and then when you get older, you can return the favor and play it back to somebody else, right?
That's exactly how it works. I hope that I'm able to give that to our younger guys.
What are your thoughts on what makes a great team player?
When times are tough. A good team player, you're down a few emotionally at home, or you're down a few on the court in the fourth. That eye contact, that knowing, I can have teammates look me in the eyes and I know that they're there for me on and off the court. I think that's going to last a lifetime.
Nice. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Okay, let's flash forward here. It's 2032, 20 years outside of that 2012 team you talked about.
Okay.
You're having a gathering, you're getting together, you're sitting around with your team.
Yeah.
What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want those guys to be saying about you as a player, as a person?
The 2012, okay, 2032. Somebody who is willing to put the work in, willing to help out a teammate, and willing to give back to the wheelchair rugby community in general. I think if that's what those friends of ours, friends of mine said about me, I'd be super honored. Just somebody that loved the sport and was willing to help out another wheelchair rugby athlete. If it was somebody who was in their first year or their 20th year, I would be super pleased. Yeah, Whitey's a good dude. If that's something that my bud said, then I'd be a happy guy.
Nice. I like that. All right. So lastly, I usually say, is there any great rugby stories that you can share with us? But I heard a snippet of something about Vancouver archery guys, and I've been told I have to ask you about it. I want to hear that story.
Yeah, we're sitting in the airport, and we come across some other Canadians in chairs, and we get chit chatting. And this gentleman's an archer, and he's talking about his Paralympic experience, and I pipe out, well, I've been to a bunch of Paralympics, starting back from '04, and he kind of looks at me, he's like, as a coach, and I was like, oh, just burnt me, like, 1 second I'm beaking off about how, my head's just fat and heavy, right? And man, am I special? And this fella, this archer, torched me right in front of my boys, and obviously the story lives, and I deserved it. I deserved being torched right there.
See, that could have been a great nickname for you. The boys should have started calling you like Robin Hood or something.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
So what's? Hey, I'm not going to call you a fathead, but if you're going to call, I'll let that live. So what's next for you, Mike? What are your next steps here in life?
Yeah, so continuing on the path of coach education. So, getting the certifications and getting the experience. So maybe at some point I can give back as a coach, 20 years in the sport. So that's something that I'm working towards, staying involved with the Soldier On program. The Valor Games 2022 in Canada, which is going to be kind of Canada's version of Invictus Games for Canadian.
Where are they being hosted?
I don't believe they have the site. They just announced a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not exactly sure of the location for that, but that's a big deal. So staying involved and giving back to the soldiers in any fashion that I can. Those two things are a big deal, and continuing to be a father of my children and being a positive role model for them are top of my list. Yeah, I'm moving forward.
Yeah, pretty good aspirations there.
Thank you.
Listen, I really had a great time chatting with you, Mike. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us, and wish you nothing but the best of luck in life moving forward.
Appreciate it, Jamie. And yeah, just it's a big deal. You touching into this wheelchair rugby community. We're all a big family, and really appreciate the support. Good luck to yourself as well.
Cheers. All right. Thanks very much, Mike. That was a lot of fun. Great conversation. Love having you chat with us. That was beautiful. Best of luck prepping for the 2021 Paralympics. It's going to be exciting to watch that happen next year. Coming up next, we got Patrice Desjardins. He's our third in the 3-part series. And then we're going to have those 3 guys back at some point soon to do a video discussion of wheelchair rugby. We also have Cindy Nellis on tap. We also have Kyle Bailey coming up soon. And we have a host of others. It's just, schedule for me, it's scheduling time to have a good conversation with them, and same as everybody else. So it's exciting time in rugby. All right. Just need to say thanks, everybody. Keep spreading the good rugby word. We got a lot of great, been very blessed with a lot of great pods, a lot of great guests. And for me, it's just a dream to chat rugby with some very knowledgeable rugby people. And I hope that you've enjoyed the journey with me. I got to say thanks to my son Rylan for supplying us with our intro and outro music. If you notice, if this is your first pod of season 2, you'll notice that our music's different. Rylan, my son in grade 7, designed a little bit of music on his laptop for us, and I thought it was pretty cool. As always, feel free to request topics, future podcast guests, questions, what have you. Make sure you drop us a line. Until next time, this is Jamie. Stay safe, stay sane. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, and keep on rocking.